Students, now we shall move on to the next part, that is an introduction part. Earlier, we know the biography of the writer Herman Hesse. Herman Hesse's short novel Siddhartha has sometimes been called a work of reverse missionary activity, bringing to the West the lessons of a typically Eastern story of spiritual searching and fulfillment. Herman Hesse's intention of writing this novel is to bring to the West the lessons of typically Eastern society of spiritual searching and the fulfillment. It is the intention of Herman Hesse of writing the Siddhartha as a novel. However, this deceptively simple and episodic tale of the title characters' progress through life provides no conventional resolutions to the questions it poses. In emphasizing Siddhartha's self assertive individuality, Hussey makes plain that his book is as much a product of Western as well as Eastern intellectual tradition. He wants to show that his book is as plain as and as much as a product of Western as well as Eastern intellectual traditions. The story of the Brahmin son Siddhartha, who leaves home to seek deep and lasting satisfaction, appears to end where it begins. Appear to end where it begins. Life begins where it ends. Life ends where it begins. This is the reverse. Beside a river with Siddhartha and Govinda united in friendship, but the first words of the novel are a hint that it will proceed and find its momentum through a series of opposites. In the shade of the house, in the sunshine near the boat on the river bank, immediately the scene shifts to a light is concentrated with shade, and the stability of home is contrasted with the vehicles that ply the river's flow, foreshadowing Siddhartha's future life with the ferryman Vasudeva. This is the contrasting scene that we come across in Herman Hesse's novel Siddhartha. Each of the novels has 12 chapters divided into two parts. Finds Siddhartha simultaneously facing a crisis and a new beginning in his search, and a new beginning, a new life in his search. It is a simultaneous process of searching. One of the important questions to consider is whether Siddhartha's search is driven more by discontent with his current state or by a vision of where he is going. Siddhartha's search is driven more by discontent with his current state, discontent, atrupti, asamadana in his current state, in his present state, or ಅಥವಾ by a vision of where he is going, ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನದ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. In succession, He rejects the intellectual and ritualistic teachings of his father and the other Brahmins. The self abnegating rigors of the ascetic samanas, the opportunity to become a disciple of Gautama, the Buddha, the world very existence of material success, and even the futile role of protective father to his son. So, what Siddhartha aspires to become is, he has an ascetic samana and the opportunity to become a disciple of Gautama, Buddha, the Buddha, or the world very existence of material success or material life, and even the futile role of protective father to his son. As Siddhartha reflects early on the stages of his life, are like the old skin that leaves the serpent, the old skin that leaves the serpent, ಹಾವು ಪೊರೆ ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ಹೊಸತನವನ್ನು ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ದ ಸಿದ್ಧಾರ್ಥ ರಿಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ early on the stages of his life are like the old skin that leaves the serpent. The image of the rejuvenated snake sharpens the contrast between his deliberate intentions and the natural course of things through the stages of life. The rejuvenated snake sharpens the contrast between his deliberate intentions and the natural course of things through the stages of life. That's how here Siddhartha, in this novel, Siddhartha also do the same. If we believe that Siddhartha achieves progress and not merely a change of circumstances in his lifelong search. Siddhartha achieves progress, not merely a change of circumstances in his lifelong search. It can be asked what part of his own will plays in achieving the enlightenment that he finally comes to by the end of the story. Here, the two contrasting situations here. The human being can change according to his circumstances or according to his willpower. His progress, not merely a change of circumstances in his lifelong search. It can be asked what part of his own will plays in achieving enlightenment that he finally comes to by the end of the story. To an observer, the scene of Govinda gazing raptly at the face of his old friend. Besides, the river might appears to be simply their reunion after many years of separation. As the story reveals, as the story goes on, the scene of Govinda gazing raptly at the face of his old friend besides the river might appear to be simply their reunion after many years of separation. However, we are told that what Govinda sees reminds him of the smile of Gautama, the universally acknowledged sublime one, the Buddha, whose lifelong disciple Govinda has been. In finally identifying Siddhartha, in finally identifying Siddhartha with the Buddha, Hassi suggests that the story he is telling is both more and less than an original work of fiction. In finally identifying Siddhartha, with the Buddha, as we identify Siddhartha with Buddha in the end of the novel. Hussey suggests that the story he is telling is both more and less than an original work of fiction. It is important to keep in mind that is the given name of the person who came to be known as Buddha. It is important to keep in mind that Siddhartha is the given name of the person who came to be known as Buddha. The early events in the life of the novel's protagonist, the early events in the life of the novel's protagonist, I mean the hero of the novel, closely parallel the traditional story of Buddha's life. In the third chapter of this novel, of this book, the fictional character Siddhartha meets Gautama. You can observe here the fictional character. In the third chapter, the fictional character Siddhartha meets Gautama, a portrayal of the historical Buddha, and during their dialogue, rejects the idea of following him as a disciple among all the other disciples, including his friend Govinda. That is the fictional character. In having Siddhartha set off his own, Hussey raises searching questions about the nature of the relationship between a teacher and a disciple. A teacher and a disciple. There is a relationship, there is a deep relationship between the teacher and the disciple. Here, Hussey searching a question about the nature of the relationship, about how a teaching that reflects the experience of a teacher can instill that experience in a follower. That experience in a follower. This is one of a series of encounters with individuals who profess to have something to teach Siddhartha. This is one of a series of encounters with individuals who profess to have something to teach Siddhartha, whose teachings he become to find inadequate in various ways. The scholarship of the Brahmins that leads to intellectual prowess but not happen, whose the teachings of Buddha he comes to find inadequate in various ways. The scholarship of the Brahmins that leads to intellectual prowess but not happiness. The asceticism of the Samanas that creates a stoic perseverance but nothing more. The art of love from Kamala that never results in loving spirit. The mercantile expertise of the merchant Kamaswami that leads only to unsatisfying entanglement in possession. The enlightenment sought by all, the enlightenment sought by all the spiritual characters in the book is not just a feeling of peace with the world, but a kind of wisdom an absolute knowledge and acceptance of the way the things are. But this truth eludes most of those who seeks for it. Some search within the teachings of other wiser people like Govinda, but such devotees are always in the shadow of someone else's enlightenment and never seems to reach the novel or the individual character. In succession, a Brahmin character, he wants to enlighten or to gain knowledge and the intellectual aspirant, the lasting satisfaction appears to end where it began, as we earlier mentioned, in the shade of the house, in the sunshine near the boats. Here, one of the important questions to consider is whether Siddhartha's search is driven more by discontent with his current state. As Hermann Hesse was a great writer and he has a preconception of writing the Indian theme, the mythic story, after its English translation, had an enormous influence of American culture in the 60s and 70s. At this point in this story, Hussey found himself unable to write Siddhartha's quest for his goal of enlightenment because he himself felt disassociated from his own being. His reasons for this choice is his realization that the Buddha teaches liberation from suffering. Buddha teaches liberation from suffering. And that this supreme goal has been attained not through following a teaching but through his seeking truth on his own path. ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಲೌಕಿಕ ಸುಖದ ನೋವುಗಳಿಂದ ನಾವು ಮುಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಕಾಣಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಸಫರಿಂಗ್ ಲಿಬರೇಷನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಸಫರಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸುಪ್ರೀಮ್ ಗೋಲ್. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಗೋಲ್, ಗುರಿ, ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ಅಟೈನ್ಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಫಾಲೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟೀಚಿಂಗ್. ಆ ಬೋಧನೆಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅನುಸರಿಸ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದಲ್ಲ, ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದಲ್ಲ, ನಾವು ಆ ದಾರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೀತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯ. ವಿ ಆರ್ ಸೀಕಿಂಗ್ ಟ್ರೂತ್ ಆನ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಓನ್ ಪಾತ್ and that what he has attained cannot be taught. We have to attain, not to be taught. So begins Siddhartha journey is proper. That's why we read Siddhartha as a great monk, great saint in the Indian context. That's why we read Siddhartha and we follow Siddhartha and we walk in the Siddhartha's path to attain the richness and to attain a peace and to attain a liberation in our lifetime. Thank you.